What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. It is the 30th day of May. We're coming right up on the end of the month here, so with that, we'll probably do some monthly analysis in this video. First, I want to get to the short-term stuff, and then we'll zoom back out to the longer-term stuff. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it. About 10 hours left in this day, 73.6K being the price. Let's look at this on the 1 hour time frame. Now, I made a post last night slash early today, right? In the essence of the chart, early today. If you're living in the Western Hemisphere, it would have been last night, saying that I was opening up a short for Bitcoin here, right around this price, and that the stop loss would have been up here. I actually, because of this move, and because it is the weekend, I closed that position. It was a 5x short, wasn't much. So that position, what it's like 1.5% loss, something like that. I closed it once we got above this high, and the reason why I closed it is just because, again, I don't like trading over the weekends. I feel like setups, no matter what they are, over the weekend it's always screwy, it's always tricky, and if we pump over the weekend, if we dump over the weekend, and it would have worked out, I don't care. There's going to be opportunity from any place that we go to, so I don't really care. I just don't like trading over the weekends because typically it doesn't really work out well. So I'm in no positions right now, being that it is the weekend. Looking at this on the 1 hour time frame here, we are moving up. We've got this weird setup here, okay? If this little part didn't exist, I'd have no problem calling this a diamond bottom. It looks like a diamond right there. It really does, but just with all of this together, it's something else. It's more of like a bear flag. It definitely does look like a bear flag, right? Here's your flag pole. Here's your flag itself. Whether you want to measure it from this high and all the way down, or maybe somewhere here and all the way down, I don't care. I think it'd make more sense to take this high. If this is a bear flag, and I think that it is a bear flag, we should see something on the lines of a move. Maybe I should take it from here. I don't know, that low. We're gonna take this low, and we'll just do this. Yeah, I mean that should take us somewhere. Oh no, we put it to the top of the pattern there. Is it the top or the bottom? I believe it's this one here. Anyways, we take it here. That measure move should take us right around 68K, 69K, 70K, and there's a lot of congruence in this area. There's a lot of things pointing to this area for support. So whether we find support at 70K, whether we hit 69K and boom, we hit that bear flag measure move on the dot, or we even go a little bit through it, there's a lot of significance lining up in this area. So I do expect we'll go lower. It's the weekend. I'm not expecting a weekend drop. I'm not really expecting a weekend pump either. Not only is it the weekend, it's Saturday, and Saturday is typically the most boring day. Typically, not always, but typically. I feel like lately Saturdays have been kind of exciting. This was last Saturday. That was pretty exciting. The Saturday before was very boring. Very, very boring. Anyways, the RSI broke out of its downtrend here. Hold on, guys. It broke out of its downtrend. I think you can hear me now. Let me just see. Yeah, it broke out of its downtrend, and now we have higher lows and higher highs, kind of. It almost seems as though you've also broken out of your uptrend, though. Maybe you had an uptrend right here, and you've broken out of that to the side, so that could be bearish. The reason why I was bearish in the first place down here, and why also beyond just the weekend, why I've closed out that short position, is the 1 hour time frame. The MACD was building, was dying off its bearish momentum. It was literally dying off, killing it slowly but surely, finding resistance at the zero. But then what have you done over the last 12 hours since I've opened up that position? You've actually been building bullish momentum. Instead of killing off that bullish momentum, you're building it. And this rejection off the zero is seeming more like flirtation instead of rejection. You might get some follow through if this carries on. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did move up a little bit. Stochastics kind of look bullish, and we look at the 4 hour time frame. We're seeing evidence of this as well. The stochastics look bullish on the 4 hour. The MACD is bearish, but you're flipping green. You're building some momentum. I mean, if we look at the histogram here, you've seen levels as high as this before over here. It's not uncommon to find resistance at higher levels with the histogram. So if we move up, we keep building a little bit. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that we're going to see anything exuberant, but maybe by the end of the weekend we'll be at a higher price, maybe at this prior area of support, and we could go short from here, something like that. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but that's just kind of been my thoughts there. So I'd rather take a small loss, very insignificant loss, and then just maybe reposition later on Monday, something like that, or late Sunday. Looking at this on the 4 hour, things are taking a little bit of a bullish turn with the stochastics. The MACD has reason enough to believe that we can move up as well. The RSI is certainly bearish. However, lower lows, lower highs here. You've kind of broken that structure, kind of, right? It's kind of sloppy. You're getting oversold and stuff like that. Now you're moving up. I wouldn't be surprised here, even though you're in this bearish formation, if you came up to this area and found resistance, if you came up to the 50 at least, maybe even get a higher high and then come back down. Still bearish overall, but momentarily, like the MACD, momentarily you've got room to run. And in that room to run, nothing exuberant should be happening, but still something probably above 74K over the next 36 hours comes our way. Might even be today. Who knows? Maybe it's over the next 10 hours. Daily time frame, looking at this here, bouncing off the oversold zone on the RSI if today closes green. If we come down and we close red, then we're getting into the oversold zone. That could actually be a really, really powerful signal that the short side is coming, that the lower lows are coming. I do expect that sometime between now and the next 10 days, we will be well on our way to 70K and lower. We should be down in this area. I'm expecting something on the lines of a lower or a higher low, but that higher low will likely come in just below this trend line here. So, 69, 68, 70K itself, something in this area. It'll be a higher low relative to these lows, but it'll be something that breaks below this trend line here. And then there's going to be another trend line here. The trend line people will be in disbelief. They'll draw this trend line and think it saves them. We'll probably go below both of these trend lines, and that's why I think we're going to go below 70K. That would likely be a good area to go long. Mark my words, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but just peering into the future, using the gift of foresight. What's going to happen over the next week or two, but probably over the next week, is we're going to be down here, and everybody's going to be saying, "Oh, it broke the trend. We're out of the uptrend. Bear flag's breaking out now. We're going down." Everybody's going to be saying that, and mark my words, that's actually going to be a good time to go long. We'll probably come back up. We'll find resistance somewhere in this area. We'll still work our way down as time goes on. At that moment where everybody gets the bright idea that we're going to go down, that will actually probably provide a pivot, a short-term pivot to the upside. But we'll probably talk about that over the next week or two. Looking at this with our daily indicators, RSI bouncing off the oversold zone makes sense to me that we would move up from here a little bit. Reject the 40, maybe even reject the 50. I doubt we get above these highs. That's why I'm in favor of rejecting the 40, but anything can happen. Still bearishly postured overall, and I do believe we have a date with destiny to that oversold zone. Here we bounced off the oversold zone. We got up to the 60. Bounced off the oversold zone, rejected the 50, came down. Bounced off the oversold zone, 45, went in between, and then you came down to the oversold, into the oversold zone itself. So bounce a little bit here and then move down. That's what I foresee happening. And I mean, in that context, maybe we do move up to about 75K, 76K, somewhere where there's prior support here, prior resistance there. Perhaps that's exactly what we see. Looking at the stochastics, if we keep this up over the weekend, going into next week, there is a possibility that things take on a little bit more of a bullish shape, getting out of the oversold zone, and we could find resistance here. I'm not talking about anything crazy, but again, a couple $1,000s to the upside. What's a couple $1,000s between friends? The MACD here is crossing below the zero. This is a bearish turn. Let's look at this. Okay, so the oscillators here crossing below the zero here. Okay, you cross below the zero here, you cross below the zero here, and you had a false cross below the zero here and a real cross there. Let's just do that, what we have on the charts. We don't need to go through all of Bitcoin's history. Okay, so this cross here, whenever we crossed right there, it would probably be about there that we had the cross. We were already halfway, well over halfway through this move. We moved up a little bit, but you still saw lower lows, being the main point. You saw lower lows. Here, when you crossed through, you were literally at your low point, and then you moved up. This was the 2026 or 2025 October 6th rally that we had here. Okay, false cross provided a very solid rally. The next time we crossed below, it was the real deal. Okay, we crossed below here, and again, like this first time, we kind of dilly-dallied for a second, but lower prices did come over the coming weeks. They came at a very, very fast pace. Not immediately, right? We crossed below the zero here. You actually moved up a little bit. You crossed green, but then you continue to move down. It wasn't a false cross like this time where you crossed and then you crossed back up. Here, we did not cross back up above the zero. We were still below it. Then we crossed red. Whenever we crossed red again, That's whenever things really picked up to the downside. That's when we saw our lower lows coming in. We crossed red over here. We went below the zero. And yet again, kind of a little bit for about half a week here, you did move up again. But then continue to build lower rather immediately, less dilly-dallying than the other two times. Here we found resistance at the zero. I wouldn't call this a cross below the zero. I would just say this is resistance at the zero, and then you crossed above it. Crossing above the zero, like crossing below it, is significant, but to the upside. We moved up. Here we're crossing below it. Might we see a staging area like we did here? Might we see a staging area like we did here? Might we see a staging area like we did here before going lower, before going lower, before going lower, right? And it might just be a little bit lower. I'm expecting something a little bit more robust like this or this here, but time will tell. So perhaps over this next week, maybe over this next 5 to 10 days, actually, we'll be moving sideways. I might change my expectations. Maybe it's not over the next 5 to 10 days that we're at 70K. It could happen fast. It could happen fast. Whether it's this next week, though, or the following week, or even 3 weeks from now, however long it takes, I thoroughly believe that we're going to go below 70K, or at least down to that area sometime in the coming weeks. But maybe we do stage for a second. Maybe we do kind of have a little range, and then after the first week of June's over, that's whenever we break down. We cross the daily MACD back to the green side a little bit, and then that's whenever we move down. Looking at the weekly time frame, the weekly RSI certainly is bearish, right? Everybody was excited saying, the bull market's starting. We broke out of the downtrend. We didn't break out of the downtrend. We identified that. We snuffed that out immediately, man, because we did not break out of the downtrend. We are still well within the weekly downtrend. We found resistance right there, guys. Right at the 60, rejecting back below the 50, not good. This is not a bullish look on the RSI at all. This says, hey, we're going to the oversold zone. Whether that's in the form of a higher low or a lower low, I don't care. We're going to the oversold zone. What happened the last time that we got oversold? What happened? We got oversold there. That was this week. The following week, after this close, we dropped another, in that week, we dropped 21%. Big shit is coming our way. Now, here's the deal. Before this, before we got oversold, we were working our way down. Okay, we saw big moves, but not nearly as big as this. This 21% move is not happening next week. It's not happening the week after, but probably sometime in July, maybe even going into August, this is going to happen, right? We're going to meander our way down. We're going to meander our way down. And whenever it's time to get oversold, that's when the caca hits the fan. That's whenever things are going to get messy to the downside. At least I would suspect that they do. We can see the MACD here on the weekly time frame did have some bullish divergence. That's probably what provided this move up in the first place. We're dying off that bullish momentum, and we're rejecting the overbought zone on the stochastics, looking like we have room to run to the oversold zone, looking like we're in a downward path on the RSI down to the oversold zone. All paths point lower, and I thoroughly believe we are going to see some type of retracement extension that is below this low of 60K. We go below 60K, that'll take us somewhere around 49.1 to $55,000. I'm personally not of the belief that we go below 50K, but I accept it as a possibility. Maybe we go just below this low, maybe. And watch this, guys. In months, talking about foresight. In months, we're going to have this, okay? We're going to have this look. Do you see it? We're going to have this look of like a head and shoulders pattern. And people are going to be saying this is a head and shoulders pattern, and they're going to be saying that this move is what will take Bitcoin down to prices below 30K or something like that. It's going to be a very loud bearish narrative. Everybody's going to be pessimistic on the markets. We're going to be barely below 60K, barely above 50K, somewhere in that area. And that'll be the end of the bear market. And then we'll start to rally and sing Kumbaya. Here's something for you guys real quick before we get into the monthly stuff. Sorry. I've got like a really dry throat for some reason. We look at this here. Let's go on the monthly time frame because that makes it a little bit cleaner. Not that it needs to be cleaner, but other than the first, this is arguably what people call the first bull market and the first bear market. With the exception of this iteration, I believe, all of this is going to be true. Let's see. So from this high to when we broke above that high, that was 20 months. It's about 2 years. 24 months is 2 years. It's about 2 years, but just under. We look at this high here, the all-time high. The next time that we saw prices above that high, it was here. Nope, actually not. It was here, I believe. Let me see. It was even longer than that. It was here. 40 months. 40 months, you guys. So 12, 24, 36, it's more than 3 years to new all-time highs. High here, when we got above it, it would have been this month, 36 months, 3 years. Okay. We look at this high here, the next time that we got above it, 28 months, about 2.5 years. My point is, from the all-time high in October, we have seen 7 months. 7 months. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I was saying, we'll flush out. Everybody will be calling for this to be a head and shoulders pattern, and then we're going to sing Kumbaya and move up. It's not going to be that pretty. We're not just going to move up immediately like that. There's going to be some boring time. 7 months. From high, all-time high, to new all-time high. The shortest iteration we saw was 20 months. The longest iteration we saw was 40 months. So let's just put those out there. Let's map that out. Hold on. That should give me about a minute of a clear throat. There we go. Let's see, 40 months. So here and here. That means Bitcoin, for anybody who's overly optimistic, and when I mean overly optimistic, this is what I mean. Anybody calling for new all-time highs before June of 2027, you're crazy. It could be as late as February 2029. Yeah, before we see new all-time highs. It really could be. And if that's the case, we're going to have a very massive bull market whenever it happens, right? We didn't here, for example, from this point onwards, we saw a bull market that more or less to get to the all-time high took 11 months, so about another year. From here, from that point, 7 months, very short amount of time. From this point here, 9 months, right? All that time spent waiting, 20 months, 40 months, 36 months, 28 months. That was actually a long, kind of prolonged, but we had an early bull market, right? We had a very fast beginning and it was kind of like the opposite of what most bull markets are. The fast part was at first, not at the end, which doesn't typically happen. This one's kind of a one-off. But we waited all that time to have basically 11, 7, 9 months of fun. Here, 19 months wasn't really fun. It was kind of anticlimactic, if we're being honest. All I'm trying to say here is that we will see Bitcoin below this price until the earliest 2027, probably over halfway through that year. Likely it will be sometime in 2028 that we actually get to new all-time highs. And then at that point, we're in the bull market. So the next bull market, the throes of the next bull market, the bullish phases of the next bull market, it's going to be in this like 2028, 2029 kind of time frame. That's what it's going to be. And by then, I would expect that we are at multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably 500K or something like that, if I had to guess. That target that we had for this last bull market, I think that'll be pushed into the next cycle. Maybe it's going to be more exuberant than that. Maybe it'll be more disappointing. And of course, this is years away. It's not easy to predict things that are years away, but we're trying, right? It doesn't mean we can't try. I'm just trying. That's all. Anyways, enough of that. The main reason I want to talk about that, the real takeaway there is that it's been 7 months since the all-time high. The shortest time frame until seeing new all-time highs was 20 months. The longest was 40 months. Likely it'll be somewhere in between there. Let's put it at 30 months, smack dab in the middle. It'll be mid-2028 before we're at new all-time highs. That doesn't mean that we're going to be moving down that whole time. We will bottom out. We'll figure ourselves out. We'll be moving up, and then the good stuff happens. But it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. Okay? So if you're a bullish person and you think that we're going to new all-time highs anytime soon, this might have been more fitting at the top here when everybody was calling for new all-time highs or 126K, whatever the case may be. But no, probably not. I want to look at this on with the indicators on the monthly time frame, RSI here. And then a lot of people have said that they believe this is the signal that we are in the end of the bear market, that the low is in. Because we found support here last time, we found support in this area last time, and right here. We've always found support right here. But the thing that these people neglect, and it's easy to neglect whenever you have your own bias in play, is that each low has been a lower low. Every single low that we have for these bear market lows has been a lower low, except for this one. The argument there could be that, oh, well, this one's not a lower low because you know, we had a weird bull market, so it doesn't need to be a lower low. Well, that's not good enough in my opinion. No, I think the trend is your friend until the end. And as far as I'm concerned with the RSI, we have lower lows, we have lower highs, and this doth not butter any parsnips. We probably go lower. We probably have lower lows to go, and that's what's going to throw everybody off. The RSI is going to see lower lows on the monthly time frame than it ever has before, as it has systematically every single bear market. So we're going to see lower lows. That'll tell us that the bear market's over. Okay, probably, or at least getting there. Oh, I thought I was on this. MACD still has lower to go as well, probably. We look at the MACD here. You touched the zero. You went through the zero last time. Here, we're nowhere near the zero. We're probably going to get to the zero, guys, okay? The zero being this line here. You see how it says zero? That's where we're going to go. The time before that, we hit the zero. Every bear market has corresponded with an interaction of the zero line, if not being below the zero line to some extent. So we're nowhere near that. We have lower to go. That's going to take time. Stochastics are oversold, and they've come out of the oversold zone. Now, here's the one thing that's kind of bullish, right? The stochastics, anytime that they've gotten oversold and then out of the oversold zone, we have ended, the bear market was over at that point. Technically, you've gotten out of the oversold zone with your blue, but not the orange. So you're technically not out of the oversold zone yet. But this is that behavior. This is the type of behavior that we see at the end of the bear market. That's the only thing indicating that. But I think this is kind of a weird bear market. We had a weird bull market, so we're having a weird bear market, but that doesn't mean that it's complete just because it's weird. We look at the monthly time frame. Sell in May seems to have been perfect this year. Seems to actually have been perfect here. I thought it would have been sell in April, sell in June, maybe sell in July and go away. But nope, it was sell in May and go away. The high was in May, and we found resistance right here. It's perfect. It's picture perfect right there at prior support, finding resistance right there. It's glorious. We're going to go lower. We are going to go lower. Yep. Last time we had on a monthly scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legs. Here we've only got what looks to be 1, 2, probably have 3, 4. I don't know if we have more than 3. I think we'll have 3. I'm assuming that this is actually going to be part of one large motive wave. This was wave 1. Wave 3 is going to be the next bull market, and it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be larger than the last bull market. The next bull market will be the first bull market that actually sees growth instead of decay over time. It's going to be a larger bull market than the last one. We thought that was going to be this one, but nope, it was a lackluster bull market. The next one will probably be that, but here we probably do go lower. We likely do have lower lows to go. I don't think that we're going to see anything below 50K. I have a hard time imagining that, but if we do, it'll be oh so barely below 50K. But something below this low is definitely in the mix. Okay. So here we are. Here we are. That's a pretty bearish candle there, my friends. It's a pretty bearish candle right there. It is not a friendly candle. We've seen these non-friendly candles before, and then we pumped, but this was in a bull market. Okay, we've seen very friendly candles before, and we dumped, and that was in a bear market. Bull market and bear market dynamics are totally different. Let's look at one more thing, and then we'll wrap this video up, if I can. There we go. Okay, monthly time frame here. We look at the last bull cycle, or last bear cycle. Here's your lows. We look at the cycle before that, here's your lows. We look at the cycle before that, here's your lows, right? Do you notice anything about all of these lows? I don't think we have enough. Yeah, we don't have enough for the prior cycle before that. Do you notice anything about all these lows? I noticed something about all these lows right away. It's that every single one of them was below this ribbon. And specifically, the last two saw monthly closes below the last ribbon. Here, we only wicked below it. but we saw monthly closes below the ribbon itself. Here we have not seen a monthly close below the ribbon. We did wick a little bit below there, to be completely fair, but likely we have lower to go. And look at this. It's actually perfect. Look at this, guys. Wow. I didn't even see this. We rejected the top side of the ribbon. That's bearish, man. That's not good. That's not what you want to see at all, right? It's like the equivalent of here when we moved up and then we came back down and found support at the bottom side of the ribbon. Look at what we did. We launched. This is not good. That's not friendly. And the next area of support, just looking at the charts here, would be either here at about 59K or here at the wick 49K, somewhere in that area, which, surprise, surprise, we take a low to a high. That's exactly where our primary target zone of the 1272 to the 1618, it's basically the same box. And then there's areas of prior resistance right there that go to the golden ratio. It is possible that we go below 50K. I'm not expecting that personally, but something below the ribbon is definitely coming our way. What about the weekly ribbon? Let's just look at that for funsies. Yeah, bearish. That is not a good look, guys. If you're bullish here, it's time to abandon hope. We likely do not get back above 77K for the rest of the year. Certainly not getting above that for the rest of the year. Not getting above 83K. That's the high of the year so far. Well, I guess besides this high. This was in January, technically. This is the last. This is our lower high, right? We're probably not going to go above this high until the bull market starts. And lower highs beget lower lows in a bearish trend, which we're in. So that's all I have for you. I'm going to wrap it up there. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.